Hello friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. I'm really glad you stopped by. This week I want to begin a new series where I work through projects using up my fabric scraps. Not the cute, perfectly folded kind, but the real leftovers. Old shapes, different sizes, pieces that are too precious to throw away but too small to become a full garment on their own. The last time I decluttered my fabric stash, I realized I had collected quite a lot of them, and I think it's finally time to put them to use. Every little scrap carries a memory. This one is from the dress my mother-in-law made for me to wear to a traditional festivity. These are the leftover patchwork blocks from my last quilt. These pieces come from the old bedsheet I turned into more than 10 garments. I made many things with it and I still have some left. It was a zero-waste project. And this one is from when I recreated my Laura Ashley skirt. I made it too wide and I had to cut out this, so it still has some seams. I've been saving these tiny pieces for 2 years now, and I'm slowly starting to run out of storage space. So the idea for these videos is simple, going from scraps to treasures. I hope the ideas I'm sharing in this series inspire you to use your own scraps too. Let's see how much I managed to get done this week. Here are all my small scraps. There's a little bit of everything from past projects. These are the biggest leftovers I have. After finishing my last quilt, I had 5 blocks left. I want to find a use to these before going for the other scraps. I have a few ideas on what to do with this. A small bed for Momo, a table runner, or 2 reversible pillows. I don't really use table runners, and I felt like pillows might look a bit too repetitive next to the quilt, so instead I'm going to try making a cat bed. And with some of the other scraps, I want to create my own patchwork fabric and turn it into a ruby vest. I've wanted to make one for a long time, and I think it would look especially sweet made from leftovers from different projects stitched together. Before we continue, I want to take a moment to introduce today's video sponsor, Skillshare. If you're not familiar with it, Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of creative classes. And if you enjoyed this video and want to explore more ways to use your fabric scraps, there's a lot of inspiration there. I've really enjoyed a class called Turn Your Scraps into New Fabric by Rabia Sami. Her projects helped me see a different way of working with scraps, more intuitive and free, without relying on strict patterns. Watching it was really inspiring because it encouraged me to be more playful and let go of perfection, releasing some of the mental pressure I sometimes place in my hobbies. You can also explore so many other categories, from sewing, crochet and embroidery, to illustration, personal development and even business. If you'd like to learn from amazing creatives too, the first 500 people to use my link in the description or scan the QR code will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I'm really excited to start with my cat's bed because I haven't touched the sewing machine much in the past weeks, as I was fully absorbed in making a pattern for a crochet sweater. Momo loves his little nest-shaped bed that my mom's gifted to him, especially because it's made from this warm, fluffy fabric. But once spring and summer arrives, it will hold far too much heat, so I'd like to make him something lighter and more breathable. Fingers crossed he actually uses it. I have 5 square pieces, so this is the little design I came up with to make it feel like a nest. One square will be the base below and the other 4 will form the walls. I will also need 1 extra square from another fabric for the bottom. The idea is to turn the side pieces into soft tubes, fill everything with stuffing and then attach it all together. I'm going to start with the base below. I also saved my batting leftovers. Once cut into small pieces, they make a really soft filling. It might look a little excessive that I keep old pillow stuffing and tiny batting scraps, maybe a bit like hoarding, but it's just hard for me to throw something away when I know I might need to buy the exact same thing again in the future. If it can still be useful, even in a small way, I'd rather give it another life. It feels less wasteful and somehow more respectful of the materials I already have. Okay, this actually looks very cute just as a cushion, but next to the quilt it feels a bit repetitive. So I'm going to set it aside for now and start working on the sides. First, I need to sew these 4 blocks into one long strip, making sure the seams line up nicely. Once I have my strip, I will sew sections at each join to create the 4 corners. It's time to seam the seams for the corners. I've seen some tutorials sew directly over the existing seam here, but I don't think that's very kind to the fabric. So instead I'm sewing 2 parallel seams next to the original one. I'm doing this while it's still a flap strip because it's much easier to manipulate now than once it becomes a circle. Now I'm joining the two ends together, right sides facing, making sure there isn't any accidental twist in the strip before closing it into a full loop. And now we have a little fabric donut divided into 4 compartments. This is the perfect moment to use up those very small, almost useless scraps. I'm placing the rougher fabric scraps more towards the center and the softer batting closer to the outer edges, so it feels comfortable to the touch. Once all the compartments are filled, I'm sewing a long seam along the bottom to close everything. This part is honestly a bit tricky with a domestic machine. Mine is quite light and it keeps shifting under the pressure of all the filling. If you're using a similar machine, this might actually be easier to hand sew. Now it's time to attach the base pillow right into the center of this donut shape. There's absolutely no way I'm putting this much bulk under my machine again, so I'm hand stitching it in place. Now everything is attached. There's one seam still visible at the bottom. Some tutorials stuck this inside with an intern seam, but I don't think my machine would handle that very well. So instead I'm sewing a piece of non-slip fabric underneath, left over from when I made a tufted rug. This way the bed won't slide around and it will stay cleaner underneath too. And here comes the quality test. It has the official approval of Momo. These scraps are going into something I've been thinking about for a while, a vest. I've made 2 vests before, and they were a bit challenging for me. The first one was denim and much harder than I expected. The second one ended up too short because I didn't have enough fabric. Both times I followed a free pattern and I think I was missing some guidance. So this time I'm trying again, still using scraps, but with the ruby vest pattern. Maybe the third time is really the charm. I'm really excited to start this project, but this week I have a few more classes to teach than usual, so I might not have time to make it. Today I'm actually teaching patchwork instead of crochet, which feels very fitting for today's video. So I'm going to take you along with me. Did you know that patchwork has been around for thousands of years? Long before we had fast fashion or mass-produced fabrics, people had to make every scrap count. The art of sewing small fabric pieces into a larger design dates back over 5,000 years to ancient Egypt and China. In the 17th and 18th centuries, patchwork was a practical necessity. Families would take leftover fabric from old clothes, worn-out sheets, or even tiny pieces from other projects and stitch them together to make quilts, jackets, and blankets. Every piece had a story, a shirt someone loved, a scrap from a dress, a remnant of a cherished fabric. Nothing was wasted. Patchwork became more than just a practicality, it became creativity in action. People learned to combine shapes, colors, and textures in ways that were both beautiful and useful. It was a way of turning leftovers into a treasure. That's why patchwork is such a perfect skill for anyone who wants to use scraps thoughtfully today. It teaches you to see potential in every little piece, to experiment without pressure, and to make something unique piece by piece. In a way, every patchwork project is a gentle reminder. With care, patience, and a little creativity, even what seems small or useless can become something meaningful. If you'd like to get started with patchwork, I would suggest beginning with something small and simple like a pillow. Star blocks and other intricate patterns can be tricky at first, so working with just squares is a much gentler way to learn. Once you feel comfortable, you can really let your imagination take over. I've made so many projects using old shirts and leftover fabrics, from the skirt I'm wearing today to quilts, laptop covers, and even a whimsical dress. For beginners, my personal favorite is this little pink cushion I designed a while ago. It's beautiful, practical, and perfect for experimenting without pressure. I will leave the tutorial up on the screen for you. And I will see you next week with my patchwork best. Thank you so much for watching. Adeu!